All right. This question is as follows. I was approached by a local company by a VP I've always respected and have had a good relationship with for years. I enjoy my current company, my bosses, and they claim to see potential in me. But every growth opportunity is pushed off and never discussed, just a someday promise. How can I use this job offer to see if they're serious about some development plan? I don't want to talk about it anymore or wait too long and realize that their actions and words do not line up. Okay, so one, credit to you for maintaining relationships with high-level people in other companies. Super smart. Also credit to you for recognizing that the actions and the words of your current company don't add up already. So this isn't something that's going to happen in the future. This is something that is happening to you right now. You're being promised development, opportunity, raises, promotions, advancement, responsibility, whatever, and then it never shows up. I think one thing you might want to think about is if you would seriously consider working for that vice president at that other company, then go pursue the job. If you wouldn't seriously consider it, then you got to be a little bit careful. But I would 100%, if you have integrity in pursuing the opportunity, go check it out. I think at that point, you can come back to your current company and say, I have another offer. Here's what I like about it. Here's how it moves me forward. Here's how it delivers what I'm interested in. I've loved working here, but I've really found that I have not been able to advance and grow the way I need to. I think if you are not interested in taking the job with this other VP, you should politely share that with that person as quickly as possible so that you don't lead them on. What I would then do in your company is say, hey, I've been approached by another company. I wasn't looking for a job. I'm not interested in finding another job, but I am going to, it did perk my interest in understanding what I could do elsewhere. Then what I would say is, hey, I would actually like to stay here and I don't really want to engage in any conversations with anyone anywhere. But in order to do that, we've talked a lot about my career growth. We've talked a lot about more opportunities. We've talked a lot about more responsibilities, whatever you've talked about. And I need to see those things happen for me to feel like this is a company that's invested in me the way I'm invested in it. And then I would see how that goes. What I would not do is go pursue this company with no intention of taking the job, or to use this to throw in the face of your current company and then have them be like, okay, go take it. And then you didn't want to take it. So just be a little bit careful with how you play the politics of it. But I think it's a great opportunity. It's a huge credit to you. And you should either get new opportunity and growth at your current company, or you should go find and see if this other company is for you. This question is, I inherited an employee when I started at my company over 3 years ago. He's 20 years older than me, hates change, and only has committed to the bare minimum. Ugh, this guy sounds like he sucks. I've tried to have constructive conversations to get a better work product and to help him understand the efficiencies we're getting by changing our processes, and I'm constantly met with combativeness and disinterest. I relate to this. I understand what you're talking about. I end up redoing a lot of his work because it's beyond sloppy and it's impossible to follow. Our company is unique in that people rarely get let go. I've heard of less than 3 firings in 30 years of its existence. So I'm basically stuck with him unless he does something completely out of line. How can I best deal with what I've got? How can I make a man who's checked out actually give a shit and do what I ask? Oof. Okay. What I would say is this guy is not going to do what you ask. So he doesn't give a shit about you. He doesn't like change. He's set in his ways, and he's clearly a little bit aggressive or angry about it and unlikely to change in the future. I think it's a problem in your company that nobody leaves. We don't tend to fire a lot of people. We've gotten better at it over time. But the reality is that there's probably a really capable person who wants that job, who would be motivated for that job, and who would do good work. So I think the chances of you reforming this guy are slim to none. And I would also call out that's not a great look for your company that nobody gets fired. I think for you, I think you should just be straight up with him, which is, look, I find you combative. I've tried to make you understand and appreciate the change that we're making. I've worked to help you buy into this system. I've found you reticent and incapable of doing all three of those things. I would also say I end up spending a lot of my time redoing your work, which is inefficient and not productive for me, and I don't appreciate it. And then I would honestly, if you can get the support of, if you have an HR team or if you can get the support of your boss or whoever runs the company, I would say, like, I'm going to give you 3 months to turn it around and contribute and participate and to be productive and positive, or you have to go. The big question and more so the battle you need to fight is with the boss, not with this guy. Because if your boss doesn't support you in doing that, he's basically saying that he accepts, or he or she is basically saying that they accept mediocre talent whose work product isn't that good and whose attitude is even worse. This question is, how do you handle meetings that consistently go over the scheduled time? Oh my God, this drives me nuts. I hate when meetings go over the scheduled time. I have this like anxiety that kicks in like at the 57-minute mark where if like we're not wrapping up and being done, I'm like, so one is this, when I was at AOL, this happened all the time. Like meetings would just start late, end late, run long. Like it was just so annoying. It was also so disrespectful. It's like a not well-run culture when everybody's late all the time, because then everybody's apologizing to one another, or you're frankly just sitting around wasting time, which I think is a lot of what happens at big companies, and it sucks. So the first thing I would do is make sure all of your meetings start on time and end on time. So if you run a meeting or your team has meetings, I would make sure you start the meeting on purpose, even if everybody isn't in there yet. I do this a lot at Barstool, where I'm like, my time matters. I want to be efficient. I want to make the most of it. So at 10 o'clock, if the meeting starts at 10, we're starting the meeting at 10. It sends a really good signal to people if they're not in the room yet. It's embarrassing and it just doesn't feel good. So the next meeting, they'll show up at 10 o'clock. The second thing is, I would make sure that at the 50-minute mark, if the meeting is an hour, or 20-minute mark, if the meeting is a half hour, that you're like, okay, what are the next steps coming out of this? Like, let's start to begin the wrap. Or if the conversation merits a longer, or if the meeting merits a longer conversation, the meeting isn't going to be done yet, say, all right, let's wrap up what we've got to thus far, and we're going to set a follow-up meeting to finish this conversation. The reality is, no meeting really needs to be more than 30 minutes. Like if you can't get out if you can't make a conversation and an action plan happen in 30 minutes, your company has bigger problems. Obviously, creative conversations can flow and they can last a really long time. But overall, I would say culturally, have the change start with you and with your team. Make the point of starting on time. Make the point of wrapping a little bit early. And then also share the feedback, which is, look, the more meetings that run long, the more inefficient we're being, the more disrespectful of people's time we're being, the less productive and fulfilling this company, working at this company will be.